on entrepreneurship, college funding, and personal branding. She has been honored by the White House as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under 30. Fantastic, right? Featured on the NBC Today Show, Griot's 100 African Americans Making History, like that. A TEDx presenter and featured on the Cooking Channel, my favorite channel. Inc. Magazine, Wall Street Journal Japan, Entrepreneur, Essence Magazine, and Black Enterprise. She is also the author of 2 books, How to Start a Business on a Ramen Noodle Budget, and The C Student, A Student's Guide to Scholarships, a creative guide to finding scholarships when your grades suck and your parents are broke. Please help me welcome Felecia Keynote.
How are you doing? Good. Just good? Great. Just great? Awesome. I was like, I don't know what's after great, huh? What about fabulous? Let's try that. How's everyone doing? I love that, I love that. Everyone looks so awesome. You gotta give yourselves a round of applause. So beautiful, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to share an hour with you, each and every one of you today. Raise your hand if you've heard, follow your passion, and you'll never work a day in your life. You've heard that. Or, just do what you love. Yeah? And the money will follow, right? Raise your hand if you're like, whatever. I was there about 4 years ago, and like, all this passion talk, all this crap, where's the money? I'm following my passion, but where's the money? A year into starting Feverish, I ended up dead broke. And one thing I can tell you is you cannot take passion to the bank. You can't write that check. They will not cash it. Right? And 2 things happened to me. And I didn't know what to do. Because when you follow your passion and then things start to fall apart, there's no manual for that. Have you guys ever seen that manual? No. There's no manual. It feels very lonely. I was at a point where my friends would ask me to go out to lunch with them, and I could not go. I couldn't afford to leave the house. But I followed my passion. 2 things happened to me. And one of these stories I'm going to share with you because talking with Diana yesterday, I was getting ready to close down my production facility. And I get a phone call, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And this guy says to me, hey, what time are you guys closing? I'm on my way. I said, all right, if you are coming right now, you're seriously coming, I will sit around and wait for you, but we were going to close at 5 o'clock. And he was like, I just got discharged from the hospital. And I'm like, okay, this must be a joke. Right? Like, who is going to show up here? What are you talking about? And what hospital did you get discharged from? Right? That's the more important question, right? What kind of hospital? And he comes up to me, he gets out the car, and it's him, his name's David, his mom, his wife and his sister. And he's wearing one of those armbands. I'm like, okay, he's legit. He really did just get out of the hospital. And he had just had a heart transplant and a lung transplant. He'd been in the hospital for 3 weeks. And he said, well, I was in the hospital and not supposed to make it. Your face came on TV, the Cooking Channel. And I said, if I make it out alive, I need to meet this person. Because you were just, your spirit on that video was so amazing. And I'm literally in tears because I didn't think that what I did really mattered that much. Like, I made a product, yes, it's delicious, I think we might have some samples later, I don't know. Maybe. But I made a product and I sold it for $1 amount. And I started my company to have a social mission of every single popsicle we sell, we give to charity. But I never thought that someone that could have been on their deathbed, the first thing that they wanted to do was to come see me. That kept me going past the pain. That made me find power in the pain that I was going through. The second thing that happened to me that same week, I had a company, I used to do marketing for some really big companies, and I'll share that with you a little bit later. But a company approached me and wanted to pay me a ridiculous amount of money to travel around the country and sell cheese. No, I'm sorry, not sell cheese, market cheese and sample cheese. A company out of Seattle. I'm like, okay, I'm racking my brain over here. I can't even afford to pay myself a salary because I'm following my passion. I could just let this go, I'll take a break for a year, I'll save up some money, and I'll come back. Because I can go market cheese and use like 0 brain cells, right? And I go to my dad, and I'm telling my dad, hey, I'm going to take a break. What do you think about this? My dad's an entrepreneur. He owns a development and construction company, and he actually just built out my new production facility and retail space. So I feel like I paid my dad back a little bit, right? And I go to my dad, and I'm telling him, hey, I'm thinking about quitting, taking a break. What should I do? I had this job offer, and he said, if you leave what you're doing, you're never going to come back. He said, what you're going through, yes, you are in debt, but it is not that much. It is not that big of a deal in the scope of where you are heading, but you need to keep going. He said, at one point in time, I had run my company into $300,000 in debt, US, right? And if I could overcome that, you could overcome this. So take that ice cream cart out and go sell some popsicles. And I was like, Dad, come on, you're supposed to tell me to go take this job. And he was like, no. And sometimes it takes someone believing in you more than you believe in yourself at that very moment, doesn't it? Sometimes it takes someone seeing what you cannot see because your head is so clouded and congested with the fear, with living in the circumstance that you are right now. Not understanding that the power that you have, especially as women, especially as Jamaican women, like my mother over there. They taught me the very first lessons in the power that I have. But somewhere along the line, society and school, and so people are going to hate when I say this, but sometimes schools kill creativity. Oh, can I get an amen on that? Sometimes, most times, all the time. My mom's an educator, so I'm trying to watch what I say. But a lot of times, schools kill creativity because we are passionate about things when we're kids. As Diana said about being childlike. I am so childlike. When I get frustrated with my business, I go to the park and I swing on swings. People think I'm crazy for doing it, but I have to keep childlike. You have to, because that is the most creative time of your life. That is when you are the most adventurous and no one can tell you that you can't do something. Think of it, when you were a kid and you were watching cartoons and you wanted to be Superman, right? You saw what he was doing, he had a cape, he flew through the sky, and he would save people. You're like, I want to do that. And what did you do? Find a towel, or a sheet, tie it around your neck, find the highest place you could find in the house, and what did you do? You jumped. You didn't ask anyone for permission. You didn't ask your parents for permission. You didn't write a business plan on how can I be Superman, did you? You didn't go to school for a bunch of years to figure out how can I be Superman. You did not ask anyone for permission but yourself. And if you wanted to do something, you were going to do it. And you were going to jump and fall and possibly hurt yourself. And then what did you do? I'm like, I'm not dead, so I'm going to get back up, find the next highest place, and jump again. And then your parents came, like, what you doing? And you were quiet. And then when they left, you started jumping again, right? So what happens, guys? Tell me, share with me. School is a part of it because it leads us on certain career paths. It leads us on very one-way career paths, very safe career paths. And sometimes it's our parents. Sometimes our parents can be our biggest dream crushers. They mean well. They're not malicious with what they're saying to you. They want you to be and have more than what they had when they were your age. But it's a whole different generation, right? The environment is completely different. Our passions are completely different than our parents. Right or wrong? Right. And unfortunately, sometimes they will tell us, this is what you should do, and this is what you should not do. And my mom tried to do that to my brother and I. She's like, I just want you guys to be teachers. You get out at 3 o'clock and then you can do whatever you want to do. But you have benefits, the B word, insurance, that I word, and safety, that S word. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to do all these other things. I want to drive an ice cream truck around. I want to follow the crazy dreams and I want to be true to myself. But it's not easy. I remember working for some big corporations, working 60 and 70-hour days and hating my job and telling people I'm going to leave this job and go buy an ice cream truck back in Florida. And they laughed at me, laughed right to my face. What are you doing? You're a marketing manager for an NBA team. Probably too young to have that job. It's a great job. My mom threw the benefits and insurance and safety at me with that. I'm like, this is not what I love. It does not feed my soul. I don't feel like I am doing my best work. And at the end of the day, I'm not being fair to this company. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to buy this ice cream truck. And that's essentially what I did. I stepped out on faith. A huge, giant leap on faith. One, because I had absolutely no experience in food, except for working for McDonald's when I was 16, which I don't think that really counts. But I got to pull the lever down for the ice cream, so that's some experience, right? A little bit. Had no experience, but I stepped out on faith. And what I wanted to do was go from just being good to being great. But before I stepped out on faith, before I left that job, before I worked for Nintendo and got laid off and really had to follow my dream, I was in a staff meeting at the NBA. And he said something to us in a room just like this. All the employees from the Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx, the WNBA team, were in this room. And he said, are you 50 game ready? Does anyone know what that means? No. Anyone want to take a guess? Are you 50 game ready?
Meaning you have a game plan for 50 games.
Say it again?
Meaning you have a game plan for 50 games out?
Not exactly. My sports guys, there's some guys in this room. What does it mean when a basketball team is .500? You want to take a guess? She's like, I already won a prize. I'm on a roll. I'm going to take another guess. I'm going to take a stab at this.
I'm just saying, in my head, 50 game ready would be if you're at the point where you need to do 50 games, you're going to do it no matter if you break your bone or whatever, you're at the point where
Kind of close. You're warm. So technically 50 game ready, 0.500 means you've won just as many games as you've lost. That means you're still on track to making the playoffs. That's what 0.500 in the season. You've won at least 50 games. That's halfway through the season. And at the time, the team that I worked for as a marketing manager, both teams had respectively the worst records in the NBA. Awful, right? Just awful. That means we couldn't sell tickets if we wanted to. Sponsors were leaving left and right. We couldn't give away tickets. You could literally pay like 20 bucks and sit on the ground floor at a Timberwolves game. That's awful, right? And that was on the court. But internally, with the front office staff, people spent half the day sending out resumes, the phones didn't ring, they couldn't get any sponsors to come on. They were doing any and everything possible to hold on to the sponsors that we had. And he kept asking us at this meeting, are you 50 game ready? Are you 50 game ready? See, what happens so often in our lives is that we plan so much for failure that we never plan for success. Are you 50 game ready? Yeah. Was the office staff actually ready when the team started winning again? And when the phone started ringing off the hook? And you can't make your child's soccer practice because you have to stay until 10 or 11 o'clock at night because the team is winning again. Are you doing your best to prepare for success? Are you 50 game ready? And most of us are not. Most of us say that we want success. We want Oprah to call us, right? Because what does that mean? Instant success. Change my phone number. Because people are going to be calling me for money. All I need to do is get on the Oprah show. I hear that so many times from people. All I need to do is get on the Today Show. That's it. Oprah Book Club, that's it. It's done. But many people aren't ready for that. Their whole lives fall apart because they don't plan for the success. They don't know how to give up what their current situation is to get the situation that they want, because we never plan for that. Just like we never plan to follow our purpose and follow our passion because we're told to plan for other things. Raise your hand if you are truly following your passion right now. Anyone want to share what that is? Anyone? Right here.
Hi everybody. My passion is I love food. I love food.
Me too, girl.
And my passion is to become a world master chef.
Nice.
And I'm taking the steps for that. I've been pushed into it now, but I'm taking the steps to go there and get to that point. And it feels wonderful.
Nice. So what made you take that leap?
Well, I was sent home from my job. So I was doing it before, but I wasn't giving it the full attention that it needed and wanted to be nurtured. It was really more of a side hustle. But now I'm really giving it the attention that it needs and giving it the love that it requires. And it is frightening. It is very, very, very scary. But I get the joy that I get from hearing people who enjoy my product, and it makes them feel good, makes it worth the night staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning trying to ensure that the cookies don't burn.
Anyone else want to share?
Oh, the name of my product is Jesse's Sugar Rush.
I love it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Suzette McGee Henry. I'm from Personalized Gifts and More. My passion was always to do things for people and they would appreciate it. I'm an accountant by profession, however, having children had led me in this path. I also teach. What I do is anything to do with stitching and printing on another level where I do great gifts. And where the teaching comes in, I also teach from 7 years old to you tell me which age you want to stop at. So that's what I do.
I like that. Can I get a guy? Come on, man. Somebody represent for the team.
Good day. My name is Anton Campbell. Me and my wife, we have a business. We do handmade jewelry. Now, I'm a person who loves Jamaican products. And we come up with this concept where we could open a Jamaican handmade jewelry shop where we use craft, wires, as you can call it. We are located at Princeville, shop number 48. Phone number is 828. Our phone number is 828-6188. It's some lovely products. We have done State International 2 times in a row. Wow. We did it last year, we did it back again last night. We got the launch, and it's a wonderful product.
And what made you take the lead?
My wife, she's a creative side.
Okay.
And I want to open a store.
Okay.
So we combined it. And we're trying to go out of power, but we have to difficulties. So we're working together.
All right, give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
So the first time I decided to take the leap, Feverish is actually not the first business I started. I actually started a business when I was 19 on the campus of Lynn University. I wasn't the best student in the world. I like to often tell the story that if you could major or minor in anything in high school, I majored and minored in the 2 Bs, boys and basketball. I was 14-year-old, I had my priorities, right? So I spent all my time on the telephone or playing basketball, which left very little time for what? Studying. Fast forward to my senior year, my guidance counselor told me that I'd never make it to college or university because of my grades. So raise your hand if anyone has ever told you that you couldn't achieve something that deep down in your heart you knew that you could. And keep your hands up if you've used their words as motivation to prove them wrong. Yeah? And keep your hands up if you dedicated your book to that person. You will? All right, well I did, my first book. But I used her words as motivation. And that was my first lesson in marketing, personal marketability, and understanding that yes, my grades were horrible, but I was not a horrible person, nor was I a walking GPA. And although I was horrible in math, I was amazing in writing. And that was what my true passion was being creative with words and being able to work with my hands. And that was a passion that I followed, and that was a passion that helped me to win $120,000 in scholarships as a C student. I ended up working for some really big companies. I like to call this my swag. And I also like to say that I ended up stealing from the big boys. And when I say stealing, I don't mean stealing paper or Sharpies. I mean, I stole all the knowledge that I got from working for these companies. And what happens a lot of time, that even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset in every single thing that you do. You have to bring value to the companies that you work for. And not just look at it as, what are they giving me? But looking at, what can I provide to them to make this company better, or to be able to leverage what I've learned with them when I'm ready to leave. And that's what I did. I literally stole the knowledge from the big companies, and I interjected everything into the company that I own today with my husband, Feverish Pops. But in 2008, the economy tanked, right? It was the worst time to start a business. I loved my job at Nintendo. I was an experiential marketing manager. You ever, as a kid, play video games like, this is what I want to do with my life? Play video games all day. That was essentially my job. And to get other people to play video games all day was a bigger part of my job. And we realized at Nintendo that we stopped spending money on newspaper ads, radio ads, TV, and spend more money in building an experience where people could actually walk into the video game in the middle of Times Square. That was my job, to put those things together and to run those events. And sometimes a good paying job will stand in your way just as much as a bad paying job. Because I loved what I was doing, but 2 years prior to that, I had a little accident, kind of fumbled a little bit. I was leaving a party, and it was so hot outside. And I'm like, it would be really cool to have ice cream here. Like, where are we gonna find an ice cream truck? And I leave this party, and I kid you not, I start to walk outside, and I hear ice cream truck music. And just like a 5-year-old kid with a pocket full of nickels, I start chasing after this ice cream truck, forgetting that I'm in heels. So what do you think happens? I fall, flat on my face, chasing after an ice cream truck in heels. Who does that but me? But a few things happen. Some, like Oprah says, the Oprah aha moments. One thought was, I'm way too old to chase after an ice cream truck. And two, why hasn't anyone come up with a cooler way for adults to enjoy ice cream? Like, I need to create something. Something that would be fun. Something that companies will actually pay me to rent out, and I don't have to drive around a neighborhood and give ice cream, sell ice cream. I want to create this, but I love what I'm doing. So I kept a little notebook. I like to call it the new school, the old school version of Pinterest. I would cut out these pictures and all this inspiration, and I would keep it in this notebook. And I kept it in a notebook for about 2 years, until I got the axe from Nintendo. Not only did I get the axe, but my husband got the axe from the same company at the same time. That's hard. That's harsh. That was a harder lesson to bounce back from than when my guidance counselor told me I would never make it. But I knew that I had to do something, and I knew that I wanted to do something, and I knew that that was my opportunity to see where this crazy idea is going to go. So I bought an ice cream truck, and then I bought 2 ice cream carts off of Craigslist. I like to call it the luxury shopping website, Craigslist. Didn't have enough money because I was trying to hold on to the last bit of savings that I had. And so I had to go to Home Depot and get spray paint to decorate the cart myself. They had these decals that you're supposed to put on the wall. It was like a skateboard and like some stars. And like, these will look really good on an ice cream cart. I put those on the cart, and I started testing out my idea. Because so many of us have ideas, but ideas are absolutely worthless without execution. And so many of us have ideas, but there are really no original ideas anymore. There's only original execution. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. Didn't have a lot of money, and I started pedaling around neighborhoods and pedaling around parks. I made a social media presence right away. Back in the day when MySpace was thebomb.com, right? And within 3 months of starting this business, a company called Tyco gave me a phone call. Like, hey, we saw your profile on MySpace about your ice cream company. We'd like to hire you to cater an event for 500 staff for a Christmas party. I'm like, of course, we can do that. We've been in business for a very long time. We can make that happen. We booked the order. We booked it. She gave us a deposit. She's like, you need a deposit, right? I'm like, yes, actually, yes, we did. Okay, what do you need to take the deposit? I'll send you an email. And they gave me the time to figure out how to take credit cards, because nothing was really set up at the time. Got off the phone, called my husband, and had a mini freak out session. Like, you'll never believe this. Someone just gave us a whole bunch of money, and we just need to show up to their office and serve ice cream to their staff. I'm like, I love it. Use that half of the deposit to buy the ice cream that we needed. buy an ice cream truck. The carts came first, and then